The canyon had no name, just a jagged scar on the red face of Voltron. 6. The kind of place where scavengers disappeared and storms howled without warning. I wasn't supposed to be there. My recon unit had diverted north, and I was chasing a lost signal. Standard protocol said turn back. I didn't. Something about the transmission. It sounded like a cry. When I reached the canyon's edge, I saw the wreckage of a small glider craft twisted into the rocks below. I nearly missed the shimmer of movement inside the rift, a flicker of pale skin, struggling to stay upright. Someone was down there. Hello? I called. Can you hear me? No answer, just a faint, choke breath. Whoever it was, they didn't have long. I activated my descent cables and dropped into the crevice, the stone walls pressing in tighter the farther I went. It was dark, hot, and tight, barely wide enough to move. Then I saw her, a girl, maybe 16 by human guess, pinned between slabs of rock. Her arm was twisted beneath her, and her leg was caught under debris from the crashed vessel. Her skin had a soft blue hue that glowed faintly in the dark, and her white-silver hair was matted with dust and blood. Her wide eyes blinked weakly. You're safe now, I said softly. I'm going to get you out. She didn't speak. She just stared, like I was something she couldn't quite believe was real. I cleared the rubble from her leg as gently as I could. Her breathing hitched when I lifted her into my arms. But she didn't scream, just closed her eyes and held on. She weighed nearly nothing. We ascended slowly. My gear strained, my arms burned. The wind howled above like it wanted to drag us back down. But we made it. And when we reached the top and I set her down on solid ground, she looked at me like the sky itself had opened. You saved me, she whispered. Yeah, I said, that's kind of my thing. She didn't speak much after that, just followed me silently through the canyons until we reached my rover. I gave her water and food, which she took with slow, graceful hands. I noticed the way she moved, like she'd been trained to hide pain, to sit straight no matter how much her body screamed. She wore a strange pendant around her neck, etched with spiraling runes. What's your name? I asked as we drove. She hesitated, then replied, Aina, that your first name, or? She looked at me, uncertain. It's what I can give you. I didn't push. We reached the outpost at dusk. I expected the medics to take her in quietly and start routine scans. Instead, alarms blared. Guards surrounded us. Dropships descended like falling stars. And in the chaos, someone shouted a word I didn't understand, but saw in their eyes what it meant. Royalty. A tall, sharp-featured alien woman rushed from one of the ships and dropped to her knees before Aina. My daughter, she cried. Daughter? I stood frozen. I carried a princess out of a death trap with dust on my face and scratches down my arms, and hadn't known. Aina looked at me then, for the first time, really looked, and she smiled. They tried to separate us after that. You've done enough, one advisor said coldly. Return to your human forces. You'll be compensated. But I wasn't interested in credits. I just wanted to know she was all right. 2 days later, she came to my tent alone, dressed in royal robes now, hair braided with silver threads. But her eyes were the same. You didn't know who I was, she said. Nope. And yet you still risked everything. Of course I did. She sat across from me. They don't trust humans. My people, they think you only help when it benefits you. Do you think that? I don't know what to think, she admitted. But you made me feel safe before I even knew your name. I laughed lightly. Not bad for a guy who just fell into a canyon. She reached into her robe and pulled out the pendant she'd been wearing. I want you to have this. I held up my hand. I can't accept a royal gift. She stepped forward and gently placed it into my palm. It's not just a gift. It's a promise. I looked down at it. The runes pulsed faintly alive. What kind of promise? That if you ever call my name, she said, I'll come. They left the next morning. A royal escort, a sky full of ships, and a girl in white who looked back once before vanishing into the clouds. I haven't seen her since, but I still wear the pendant. And some nights, when the wind howls like it did in that canyon, I hear her voice in my memory. You saved me, not because I was a princess, but because I was someone who needed saving. And I'll never forget that moment when kindness came before titles, and I reached into darkness, not knowing I was pulling royalty into the light.